Welcome to the Christie Taylor Show. I'm your host, Christie Taylor. Super excited to have you here. And let me tell you, I have made a strong Canadian connection, and I'm super excited to have yet another amazing guest all the way up near Toronto. And let me tell you about these dynamic duos. Wow, I'm super excited. 80 Empire, the dynamic 80 Empire consists of brothers Lucas and Adrian Rezza, and I'm going to make sure I said that correctly, of Canada. They are multi-platinum Universal Publishing Juno nominated singers, songwriters, and producers who thrive on their versatile and eclectic love of music and music production. Now, let me tell you, Lucas and Adrian are second-generation Italians who grew up near Toronto, who now reside in Niagara-on-the-Lake, where they headquartered their boutique indie label, Gladiator Records. Now, this year, they've been in the game a long time, but this year, 80 Empire dropped their debut album, Legacy, which fused their love of hip-hop culture with their Italian roots by assembling a cast of incredible MCs from Yonkers, New York to Bari, Italy. Now, this long-awaited album features some of the hip-hop's finest, including Fred the Godson, Conway the Machine, Kxng Crooked, Bishop Lamont, Jadakiss, and many others. Now, this is a true testimony to 80 Empire's passion and dedication to keep the hip hop they love well and alive. I want you to help me welcome to the Christie Taylor Show, 80 Empire. What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, what's up, Christie?
Wow, you know something? I'm super excited. Like I said, I have had an amazing connection with Canada in this past year of doing the Christie Taylor Show. Now, previously I did radio, but in the pandemic, the television show was birthed, and I have enjoyed being able to interview people all around the country and in Canada, and to now have you, dynamic duo, the 80 Empire here. Wow. Now, Lucas and Adrian, wow. We had a earlier booking. We're going to get into your musical history, but we actually had an earlier booking. We had to reschedule because I'm going to let Adrian tell the story.
Yeah, well, Christie, first of all, thank you for having us on the show. It really is. We don't say this lightly. It is an honor when anybody wants to share their platform with us and to allow us on their platform. So thank you for that. But yeah, COVID is real. I know there's a lot of people out there who, conspiracy theorists, and people don't think they have to wear a mask, and they think they're in the best health, other than maybe being maybe 20 pounds, 30 pounds overweight, which we all can get to that point. I was in good health. And we all got COVID, the whole family, Luke, his family, wife and kids, my parents.
Parents got it.
But everybody either were asymptomatic, showed no symptoms, or like my brother, my mom, my sister-in-law, Moy, were sick for about a week. When they started getting better, my health started deteriorating. And then, a couple of days after that, once we all knew that we went and got tested and we were positive, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, the battle of my life. It was the scariest thing I've ever been through. I'm still, recovering. The doctor said until I'm fully recovered and 100% myself, it'll be probably a good 6 months. But thank God I made it through the storm. And I'll have to say, really, the strength of family. My brother was my coach. Thank God I've got such an incredible support system. My kids, my wife, my parents. But the music also got me through, listening to music, listening to unreleased projects in the hospital. And many days, I won't be shy to admit it, many days I just broke down crying and said, we have a record called Keep the Faith with Swifty McVeigh. This will be our sophomore album with Swifty. And we have a record, Keep the Faith. And I'm listening to this music and I'm like, some of the songs we already did, it's almost as if we knew I was going to get sick, because some of the stuff that I sang 6 months ago, it's uncanny that it's so in the moment of what I'm going through, what I was going through in the hospital. So anyway, thank God I made it through the storm, but yes. It is real. People get vaccinated, put on your mask, because it literally can save someone's life. It really can. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your testimony. And we praise the Almighty that you have made it through to this side, and you are going to be in divine health on this side. I appreciate that story. Now, of course, we got to get to the music. As you say, even some of the music that you were listening to that you all, okay, let me kind of back it up. Now, I'm a music lover. Actually, before media, I too used to sing. So I have a strong appreciation for the music process. And your musical journey begins when? Have you all always, had an affinity for music, or is it something that came later in life?
No, we always had a love for music. Our parents, being of Italian background, we grew up listening to black music, funk music, soul music.
I mean, your T-shirt shows it right there.
I mean, I don't wear a T-shirt like this because I think it's cool. I wear a T-shirt because Marvin Gaye is one of our favorites. Yeah. And what Marvin Gaye was talking about in the 60s and the 70s is relevant today, all these years later. And unfortunately, not much has changed. That's the sad part of what he was talking about, the likes of Marvin Gaye or James Brown, But we grew up listening to that music, this amazing music that was birthed from
Stax Records
in Memphis.
The Booker T and the MGs.
Yeah, Otis Redding. And these are the records that, on top of listening to classical music, my parents loved the opera and classical music, but
primarily African American music is what really captivated my brother and I, because that was our parents' favorite music. Like my mom back in the 60s, a little Italian girl, like my mom was both parents born in Italy, but my mom came to Canada when she was super small, like 5 months old. Yeah. So she has no recollection of Italy. But my mom, as a teenager, used to walk around an Italian neighborhood, St. Clair and Dufferin in Toronto, go and say it loud, "I'm black and I'm proud." Her older brother, our Uncle Frank, used to play in a soul band and played all the way down and Wilson Pickett. So, the African American music and culture has had a profound influence on us. Like growing up as kids, we didn't have white artists on the wall. Like all of our heroes were black. All of our pictures were of rappers and R&B singers. All the records and cassette tapes and music our parents brought home, primarily 99%. So for us, it's just, we have a very deep affinity and connection and love for Black culture, African American culture.
I love it. You know something? It's amazing sometimes because as African American or Black, because Black with a capital B, because now we're in a very interesting time of identification in this country. To know that how impactful our music has been. And of course, since you all are, students of the music, you also know as students of the pain that is associated with the birth of a lot of our music. So to understand the global impact that our music has had, coming from all the different injustices that this country has put upon our ancestors and even to this day, is really amazing to me. I have to say that. I just want to make sure that I pause and say that, and particularly like the fact you have a strong affinity for Stax music, Memphis music, which to this day still has a thickness to it. There's an energy in this city. Oh, yeah. And I've lived other places, and I tell a lot of people when I come home, I'm like, Memphis, it has a certain magic to it that is really still a combination of the grit and the grind of America and Black culture. So if you ever want to come to a place where you can still feel that, like you can actually feel it, I say come to Memphis. Come to Memphis. It's amazing.
It's funny. Absolutely. We just 2 days ago we were listening to Sam and Dave.
Yeah, and Booker T.
If something I can't sing it like you can.
But Booker T.
But if something's wrong with my baby, I mean
Booker T and the MGs, Yeah, it really is like what you were saying, really like the Black struggle. And, unfortunately, the pain and struggle, but out of that struggle, really, again, like you said, the world should have so much gratitude for
there'd be no rock and roll if there wasn't blues. No. Where did blues come from?
Yeah.
It came from slavery, the plantations,
and then later made its way to Chicago.
But where did the guitar come from? It came from Africa.
Yes.
And they made the guitars out of broomsticks and strings on these plantations because they needed something,
an
escape from this awful reality.
I mean, I'm gonna sound like some university professor.
Please do.
But like even people could argue, if you really want to argue the fact that a lot of the songs that were sung on the plantations to direct people through the Underground Railroad to get to freedom, a lot of people, a lot of those songs in a way were like the first rap songs because they were codes. Like wade in the water, you're going to wade in the water because if you go in the water, the hound dogs, the overseer's dogs are not going to pick up the scent. Once people wade in the water, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's all code, like just the way like hip hop is code, where like, you know, people who don't understand street culture might not understand like what a certain thing means unless they've come from the streets or understand it. So the same thing, like it's really, it birthed country music too. You know, there wouldn't be country music if there wasn't black music, if there wasn't soul, gospel music. So it's so many musics, you know.
You know, Adrian, I love the fact that you did become the professor. So Professor Adrian, I like how you connected, you know, the spirituals, the blues, and just the entire musical graduation to hip hop, which of course is also birthed out of jazz and bebop. And the lyrics, though, the poetry, the griot, and the code speaking. So let's run it up to, you want to go to the 70s when the birth of, or the 80s? What do y'all want to jump in when it comes to when hip hop? The scene.
I think, Luke, I'll let you, but really before you do, but you're right, like the griots, even earlier, like African griots, like storytellers, because in Africa is more, back then it was more of an oral tradition.
Correct.
You know, where oral storytellers in the griot, and then, you know, as he got older, then you pass down the oral tradition to the youngsters, and then they carry it on, they become the griot of the village. So it really goes all the way back to Africa, you know, which to me, I think is the birthplace of humanity. We all have African roots. I really do think. You know?
It is true. It is true. And to that point, thereby, I'm always impressed by the impact of the music, because I think, okay, without us going super deep, I mean, because I can go there, but for the sake of this conversation, I think music, just like numbers, is really a universal language. So when you get, and of course, music in and of itself, dealing with scales, dealing with harmonies, is a combination of sounds and numbers. So to be able to put messaging to that number system and to sound, to create, is a movement in and of itself. And it's an expansion. You know, if we get into the science of all things and energy, it expands the universe. So with that being said, actually the formation of this particular sound, this particular genre of hip hop, where do you all come in on the history of it? And because, you know, I'm loving the fact that y'all are some history buffs too. So I'm kind of fiending over here.
Like the official, you.
Well, I mean, I think the official, I mean, to me, the official, unofficial rap song, to me, and I've talked about this with multiple people, even professors of music, actual professors, is James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. 1968. Because if you think about it, he's really rapping in that.
Yeah, he's
like, some people say we have a lot of malice. Some people say we have a lot of nerve, but all we saying is what we deserve, or something like what he says.
Yes.
You know, he's rapping. He's really rapping that song. He's not singing it. It's a chant. He's chanting it, and he's fighting it. And it's like, and I love that about what he did and how it kind of influenced hip hop, because a lot of the, you know, the white world and the white scene said you would lose your crossover success, and he said, I don't care. How can I write love ballads? And I think that's why when you get to, like, you know, the Marvin Gayes of the world, why the sound of Motown changed was because when all the civil unrest was going on, and I think it can be, you can kind of have the same.
Well, I think the black community just couldn't sit by and make love songs when there was so much civil unrest going on.
This is what I'm saying. And then now you can fast forward to 2020, 2021, and what's been going on.
Yeah.
And why how rap is starting to change again for the better. But
what you said,
Motown couldn't sing "Baby, Baby, I love," you know, when all the civil unrest was going on. So James Brown hit a chord and a nerve with people where they were going, Marvin Gaye of the world were going, I can't talk about love with Tammy Terrell anymore. I can't do these songs anymore. I got to talk about what's really at the root. And I think with music right now, hip hop, why I believe like we're from that, where we appreciate new music and new sound, and we kind of fuse the old and the new, but people want to hear stories again because of all the civil unrest that's going on. Every rap song can't be about getting high off of like cough medicines and talking about stuff that's not reality, when, you know, kids are getting shot on the street by police. Like you gotta, you know, not everything
has to be a happy medium.
There has to be a happy medium, but we got to talk about what's going on.
And
Right?
I think like to bring it back, like I think hip hop, if you want to get more like, because everybody could argue different things. I think like really in the 70s, you know, Cool Herc,
the New York bringing
the Bronx, you know, and he was from Jamaica, and like Jamaican culture too, like they chat on the record, like, you know, Wagwan, rewind, selector, and like rewind,
and they would take little clips of
and the break
instrumentals, break beats of other records, and you know, keep.
But and again though, like hip hop, if you look at the official, when like they really call it hip hop, and they actually call it rapping, you know, really again, like out of the Bronx, if you look at what was going on in the Bronx in the 70s, you know, all these slumlords like torching buildings and stuff, you know, and like so they could build the bridges and things. They were like, you know, the Bronx was a war zone, you know. But even out of disco came hip hop.
Yeah, like once disco had kind of its once they had that, you know, which is very Nazi-esque burning of the disco records in, where was it? Chicago, I think, in a stadium. They said, everyone bring their disco records and we're going to have a burning thing. And they literally burned like thousands of disco records. It was like, but that kind of killed disco right then. But then out of that, because disco was that 4 on the floor, it was monotonous. It kind of had that, you know, was originally funk music. Like James Brown was like 4 or 5 minutes of the same thing, but it was a groove that you were kind of pulled in with that bass and the syncopation of drum that's never been done before. You know, then all of a sudden hip hop took it to the next level where the drum beats were just in your face and the bass line was in your face, you know, and it's just, I think it's, you know, everybody said it was a fad, but hip hop here for life, man. It ain't going anywhere.
And I see you two are true lifers indeed. And I'm really loving the fact that you understand the music history and how it has fed this international phenomenon. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about your international influence and your award-winning career right after this. I'm so happy to be here with my boys, all the way from Canada, 80 Empire. Lucas and Adrian, I feel like we're family. I really do.
I know.
Absolutely.
You know, and probably because of the music. It's because of the music, and it's because of the fact, like me and my brother and my older sister, we are like movie and music buffs. Like we like to read the liner notes. We like to know the history. We like to see how, you know, the mind mapping on how one person worked on an album and then they end up jumping on another project, and then you start seeing how, you know, all those things. When it comes to you all's career, you all are very much like that. You are on a lot of liner notes. So in addition to being deep with the history of music, you all became architects of this sound in Canada. Can we talk about your career, how it started, and just, you know, give me the highlight reels, because you all have done some amazing things.
Thank you. Yeah, I know it started, you know, again, when we were young, and our parents were always very supportive of us doing music. And it's funny, I always gravitated, you know, like keyboards. Like I remember as a kid listening to Get Up, Get On Up, like James Brown, and trying to learn that little piano solo. And I was maybe, you know, my daughter's 11 right now, so I was probably my daughter's age, sitting there trying to learn. But Adrian was listening to, you know, the singing side of it.
I drove our parents nuts, especially mom, because I walk around the house, touch everything, and make a rap, like watching the TV, and never know when the number agreed. Like I would just whatever, you know. And then after that, we just, you know, started with our cousin playing in the basement, then childhood friends, then we got union players. See, because we come from that live element, we never had a DJ. It was always Lucas making the beats, but back then, you know, with drums and keyboards, and then it just morphed into this. But you know, a couple of things, like we've done a lot of stuff for TV and things too. So we co-produced and co-wrote the theme song for the Real Housewives of Miami. You know, so we've done things like that. to charting on Billboard with music we did for Obi Trice. Obi Trice was signed to Eminem's label. He was one of the first signees on Shady Records. Done some other things for TV shows and things like that, and eventually it's led to what we're doing now. And we have an indie label, Gladiator, and had a lot of young acts, and we just saw that you can't teach someone to hustle, no matter how talented someone thinks they are. So my brother and I said, you know what, like, why are we investing in the youth? Let's invest in ourselves, because at least we know, when you bet on yourself, that you know how hard you're going to work for yourself.
I'm finding a quote that I put up on our Instagram. Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Yeah. And, and it doesn't matter your age, but we do live in an era. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm not, millennial, this or that. I'm not even using that term. But we do live in an age right now where people want success right away, and they're not willing to put in the work.
You can't take you got to take the staircase to success.
Exactly.
You can't take the elevator.
Exactly. And you have to master yourself as a producer, master yourself as a singer, where yes, the world relies on the melodynes and the auto tunes to give you that perfection when it comes to recording. Fine, but master your voice so when you are performing live,
yes,
you sound like you're live, because if you're looking at it as a business, the live portion is what's going to keep your career going, because you can gig. But if you sound whack because you're going, wow, you don't sound like that at all, well, then you don't have a career and you're performing, and then all you do is put out records and find something else to do. And just posting a few things on Instagram doesn't mean all of a sudden you should be opening up for Usher or Ariana Grande. You got to hustle. And we were finding that, we're putting our time, our expertise, and our energy and our resources and everything as Gladiator into younger artists that are not willing to put that same amount of hustle. So we finally said to ourselves, you know what? We're going to start focusing on 80 Empire again, the Rezza brothers, and putting out our own music. And in the process, bringing in, artists that we've been fans of for years, legends in hip hop and R&B, but then up and comers that we're working, like a current project we have coming out called Life After Life with a great rapper from San Diego called RX, from the Bay originally. And he's a young guy, and he works hard and hustles. So, we want to work with people that are going to put the same amount of love and hustle into the music as we do, because then we know going forward, do we want to work with these people again, or is it a one project deal and then off to the next? But we know as brothers that our hustle will never falter, even through COVID. And my Adrian was in the hospital, and I'm sending him verses from legends like MC8 from Compton, West Coast legend, and he's listening to it in the hospital.
I'm hooked up with tubes
and stuff, and he's going, and he sends me videos in WhatsApp of him jamming to it, and his leg was like soul in here. That's because the music is more than just. It's a business. Of course it's a business.
It's our lifeline. It's our heartbeat, man.
It's our heartbeat. It's the 5 heartbeats.
It's a 5 heartbeats.
What was that part?
Is there a heart in the house tonight? COVID has taken away, because I can sing high in the falsetto. I haven't gotten that back yet. I can sing that's about as high as I can go. But I'm hoping as the next month goes by, I can get that high register back. But and if I don't, because of this, at least I'm still live, and I'll have to adapt. I'll have to then.
It's okay. I'll
get down to a baritone, or
it's okay. I'll take over.
You'll go from Philip Bailey to Barry White.
Yeah.
Or Lou Rawls. You'll never.
You'll never.
What a great song.
Someone who loves you the way I do.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is amazing. This is amazing how the international flair, and part of your bio speaks to the fact that this album that you just released, talking about, you two brothers are going to be committed to the love and the hustle of music. And here it is, 2021. You've dropped your first album after decades in the game, and it's called Legacy. Okay, let's talk about the album. And you mentioned and spoke to your collaboration. But can we go ahead and drop some names? Because you all did, y'all did that thing. And I love it. I love it. Nice vibe, nice energy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we, I think like Luke was saying, like we've got legends, legends who've already paved the way on it, like Master Ace, and then we've got like new legends like Conway the Machine, like Conway the Machine from Buffalo right now. Buffalo is having I don't even say it's already had, it's exploded. It's had a real Harlem Renaissance, just like Harlem back in the 30s when all these incredible Black performers, and not just like in the arts world, but in all aspects and sectors of life, just an exploration of like Black culture. So the same thing has happened in Buffalo. We've been lucky to be, to be able to kind of witness of it just because of our close proximity to the border and before COVID, hanging out there and doing music with some of these cats. So we got Conway the Machine, BG Knockout, who was Eazy-E's protege. And really, we just wanted to make a body of work where it was a legacy. Like if the world, if I don't want to be a fatalist, but if the world imploded tomorrow and somehow some like alien, some alien nation, came and like they picked up a phone and like there was one remnant of thing and our thing popped up, they heard the music, I think it would be a very accurate depiction of our musical upbringing. And I think the legacy that our parents passed on to us by giving us such exposure to such rich music and concerts, I think all of that upbringing is kind of reflected in this project, because there are soulful elements.
Yeah, and I think what we wanted to do too was really curate an album where, we have a song called Fit In, and rest in peace, Fred the Godson, who passed away of COVID right in the beginning. And he is arguably one of the greatest, underground. And he was just about to, everybody know, Fred the Godson was your favorite rapper's favorite rapper.
Like he wrote Fat Joe for the remix of All the Way Up. He wrote Fat Joe's remix. So like he wrote it. He was also a ghostwriter. Fred.
But he passed unfortunately very young of COVID. But we put that song out, Fit In, and we have a New York rapper like Fred. But then we have Bishop Lamont, who's from Carson, California, a juggernaut, West Coast juggernaut. Signed to Dr. Dre. Then we have a colleague, an MC from Italy, he's well known in the underground scene. From there, so rapping in Italian in our dad's dialect from southern Italy,
from
Bari. And then we have a friend of ours from town. She's a folk singer, kind of classic acoustic guitar, Catherine.
So really just bridging all the...
And then Laz, who's a doctor on the front lines of COVID, who's also an MC, who's...
originally from Detroit, but now lives in Las Vegas. But I think you mentioned it earlier, Christy, about like music really is the universal language. So that's what we wanted to do. Yeah. We wanted to bridge gaps of, rappers and artists. I don't even want to say rappers, artists from different worlds, and put them on tracks together and say, wow, like, look at these different worlds have come together because everybody in their own way, like, I think everybody has a legacy. We might not see it because it hasn't happened on a world stage, but someone could be bust their hump every day. Like our grandfather, God rest his soul. He came from Italy, was an incredible soccer player. Then World War II happened. He had to put that dream to the side and go, he had to go. When you're a certain age, you have no choice. You're part of the army. And then after that, you come back, you get married, you have kids, you come to Canada, which not only is a cold place, but also the people were cold, because especially when you were Italian, and like the Italians encountered a lot of prejudice when they came, by Canadians, but like British, Scottish, Irish Canadians, because they didn't speak the same language. They had different food. Italians, had the slick black hair, and babies, they pierced the ears. They pierced the ears of like girls, like when they were super young, and that's not an English thing. Wow. So just like it was very foreign, But like our grandfather had a legacy because the guy came here. When people think of Italian culture, they think of mobsters. Our grandfather wasn't a mobster. He drove a delivery truck for a pastry shop, and he drove a garbage truck. But through that, was able to buy a big house. Through that, was able to buy cars. And like, you know, have 2 kids, and then that legacy, you know, has you know, domino affected to us and given us the hard work ethic. So, you know, we know our grandfather's legacy because that guy would do anything to provide it. There was no job.
He would do any job.
He was not beneath any job or above any job. So, you know, I think that's what legacy is all about. Like, it's about like the blue collar. It's blue, you know, whether you're white collar or blue collar, I think you can relate to like the stories and the messaging and the music, you know, and that's what we kind of want to do.
And I think the legacy is like, you know, the success is in the
execution.
The execution.
Yes.
So, you know, we had this idea of what originally was a mixtape, and this was going back, you know, in a year before the pandemic. So even late 2018, going into 2019, we had this idea of putting this album together and bringing all these, you know, whoever we could bringing to the table, and you know, we executed it. So we are successful in that. Whether, you know, we're fortunate where we're over, you know, 2 million streams on Spotify and on multiple platforms. You know, we're above that, and it's a success on an indie level. But even if it was only 2,000, that means 2,000 people listened to it and appreciated it. So we always say the execution. We say that to our children. You know, whether you fail or not, the success is in the execution. If you failed at it, try again. You're pushing yourself. But, you know, I always say this. I've always been that. I'd rather be the oh well person than the what if person.
Ooh.
You know, I'd rather go, oh well. Yeah, I say, oh well.
Yeah.
You know what? Everybody says they want to put out an album and get artists, and they never do it. We did. Now, obviously, it's our livelihood, but we did it, and nobody could take away that from us. So that's the legacy that music now will forever be there. You know, for people to hear.
I'll tell you. I mean, a story will never be a quick story with the both of us. But when I was in the studio, when I was in the hospital, you know, it was late at night, and you know, you start getting, when you're sick in a hospital and with COVID, obviously you can't have any visitors. So at night would be a real difficult time because I didn't sleep much, and your legs, even still today, because of the blood clots that I've had all over my body, my legs really at night start to feel really unsettled and hurt. But obviously 2 months ago, it's 10 times worse. So I'm sitting with my legs elevated, kind of looking out the window because I had a nice view from the hospital, and I'm listening to music. And Colton was his name. I had this nurse for about a week. At night, he was my nurse, my night nurse for a week. And he's like, he comes in, he goes, wait a minute, you like hip hop? Because, you know, my hair was longer. My dad cut my hair, but my hair was longer. So he figured because I had long hair that I liked rock music. He goes, you listen to that stuff? I'm like, actually. And he was I was listening to a Benny the Butcher song, another big artist from Buffalo who Griselda. We have a song with him, Griselda and the Black Soprano Family. We have music on another project, and we have another record we produced from him coming out on this other dude from Boston later this year. I don't know when they're putting out the record, but I'm listening to this. I'm like, actually, man, isn't it cool? And I'm like, actually, my brother and I have produced music for Benny. You know, this is the record. And then he goes, wait a minute, what's your name? Because he saw the phone, so I showed him the song. And he goes, your guy's name is 80 Empire. He goes, I've heard your Legacy song with Conway. So I'm like,
wow. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, like I'm sitting here ready to have, like, listening to music to try to calm myself down before I have to like get in a bed, and then, you know, they check your blood, they check your oxygen and all that jazz again. And it's like, it's a real grueling experience when you've never had health problems, you know, and you're dealing with all this. But it's on like that like hour, that 40 minutes of having that convo with him and him realizing that he knew our one of our tunes. It was like, I forgot for a second that I was sick in the hospital. And
wow, the power of music, Adrian. Yeah. The power of music is our music is healing. You know, music is very healing. I mean, which goes back to even the full circle conversation of the impact of Black music globally, because we were using music to heal ourselves, to heal our psyches, our bodies, our spirits. And now you all are a part of that great tradition, and that's powerful. That is so, and even in your own personal life, you know, there's one song that, you know, of course, as you say, has to have balance when it comes to hip hop, and you do get a chance to talk about some money. One of your tracks is Money, and it features Jadakiss and some other amazing. Can you all talk about that? Because that's like the first single that you dropped. Let's talk about the inspiration of all the songs, but particularly that one.
Yeah, like we had the beat, and we it's funny. Even lately I've been going back to older drives and finding these amazing hooks or bridges that Adrian's done. So we'll do so much stuff and then forget about it, and then like years later. So we had that hook for a while.
No, the beat. You had
the beat, not the hook, not the hook. Yeah. So all of a sudden, Adrian just
make money,
take money, take money.
Shout out to our friend Agrid, our Guyanese brother. He's actually went back to live in Guyana. Was in Toronto for years, but we were just talking, and he brokered a deal to get Jadakiss on the record. He's like, you guys want to, Jadakiss, and we're like, hell yeah. So he got Jadakiss, and then all the other,
and then we have Walino and his girlfriend Cheka from Southern Italy, and they're big, they're hip hop artists, and the scene in Italy for hip hop is huge.
And we know them personally, and then the other two guys, Tony Hooks and Genovese, two Italian Americans, we know them personally as well. And then Genovese is grew up. He's from Yonkers, so is Tony. And so Genovese grew up especially with Styles P from the Locks, and so that's Jadakiss's crew, the Locks, Chic Luch, right. Styles P. So it's and then Genovese is connected to those guys. So it's just it's all this it's 5 degrees, 6 degrees separation.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was fun to just have that type of
a fun track
like that, and just
because there's a lot of serious and themes, and and so that's just make money, take money. It's just a fun record.
Another one of your songs, I got to tell you guys that I really was digging. Okay, of course, Make Money. That's the single, but Family Love. I like that. That's fun with your kids.
We have Adrian has 2 girls, and I have a son and a daughter, and that's all of them doing that. That's them singing the whole thing. Every time I hear it, I kind of tear up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's again, with the whole legacy, this is what we leave behind for our children. This is the music, and when they get older and they have kids, they can hear that and go, yeah, we were a part of this.
There's something there. We have an interlude called the D'Amico interlude, and that's our first cousin's son. So that's our other nephew doing it right. He did that when he was 12. Now he's 15. And so we're like, hey man, we're gonna put it on. And I don't even think our cousin Danny, his father, believed it. We're like, no, we're men of our word. So when the album came out, we're like, yo, you guys better buy it and stream it and talk about it, because we got nephew on the album with Conway and all these big rappers and stuff, so.
But let me tell you guys 2 more tracks that I really, really love. I mean, I love the fact that, your legacy, you're tying in family, of course, that's a big thing. And when it came to some of the other tracks that I was really digging, Forever Mood, and I think that was with Doc Native.
Doc Native.
Yep. Then I also was loving, I think it's Devil's Roll Up.
Yeah, Devil Rolls Up.
Yep. Yeah, that was cool. And one that really kind of shook my soul was About to Kill a Black Man. I was like, y'all going deep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we that one, we felt that being that we've been allowed to be part of this amazing culture of hip hop and the arts, and lack of a better word, Black culture, we felt that we have always stood, because of our parents, but we've always stood on the side of what's right and through what's good and what's bad, and we couldn't put out music and put on an album and not talk about what was going on, because it was something. So
while we were working on this album,
and unfortunately with George Floyd, it was nothing new, and that's the sad part. It's just everyone has phones now, and every phone has a camera and video.
But I think the way, because it was so graphic and it was almost happening in that's in real time, really inspired this song, because it was happening in real time, and it was maybe 3 months into COVID, so everyone was cooped up in their house. everybody saw that. And I think this time it affected people that usually will just go, let's be honest, there's a lot of people, and we want to keep it PG-13. There's a lot of people that when they see a young black man killed on TV, they'll probably go, well, maybe he deserved that, or no one deserves to die because of their color. And that's just the sheer facts that, young black men are accosted by the police. They're targeted. Luke and I could be dressed like this with our black hats, black hood shirts, walk down the street. Fortunately or unfortunately, we get the white privilege because of our shade of skin. But our friends who are black, dressed the same way that we're dressed, they're gonna be stopped by the cops and go, hey, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Well, what do you mean I'm doing in this neighborhood? I live in this neighborhood, or I work in this neighborhood. So really, we thought how irresponsible it would be for us. We've been the recipients of black culture since kids, and not to do a song that has something to do with what's going on. And we could only empathize as supporters and allies, but we really don't know the experience. We could say that we do, but we don't. We don't. I mean, we had as kids, like, especially Lucas was called the N-word because Lucas really dressed real hip hop more than I did, like super baggy and the hats like that, more so than I did.
I was only grade 8 in an Italian neighborhood with Air Force Ones, wearing a red Everlast tracksuit in a Chicago Bulls bucket hat, walking around like.
But you were all in, Lucas.
I was all in. I was like,
but even then, like, it was obviously that was a form of bullying, but it was, but it was only that one snapshot. It's not like living your whole day 24 hours in a day, being a black man, go to the grocery store, they're following you. You go to the gas pump, they think that you're going to leave without paying. It's and white people don't think it's real. It is real. But again, we wanted to do that song as allies, and then we called, friends of ours, artists from the States, and go, listen, we have this song. We would love for you to talk about your experience if you're down. We understand if you are hesitant and they were emotional. They're like, no, hell no.
Before we could even finish, they were like, oh, I got a lot of stories. I think I might need more than 16 bars to tell my story.
More than 16 bars. It's like, I got bars for that.
I got bars, and we wanted that. We wanted everybody on the, the 3 other artists on it. Shout out to all the guys, about to talk about their story. And our partner with Gladiator and our manager Will Van Zyl, shout out to Will. He's originally from Swaziland, and his beautiful young son, South Africa, and his beautiful son and his wife, and they experience this stuff every day, even being up in Canada. It's not that it's when you cross the border, you all of a sudden come into magical land, and it's
that is interesting. Yeah, Lucas, I had a chance to speak with another gentleman who does a lot of hip hop in that area. And he just dropped a song about that because there was a rash of shootings in Toronto. Yeah. And, it's just an interesting, the global incubator that we're all in. And I think that even the pandemic really showed how small our world is and how we're really impacted by, all the forces that are happening on the world. So I'm grateful for you guys. This has been an amazing conversation, and we already knew we were going to chat it up. We knew it.
it. well, Will, like I said, Will said to us,
Christy, you're a cousin now.
You're family now.
I know. I got to come home. I got to come see you.
You're our second cousin from Memphis.
Yes. So y'all come this way, and I'm going to come that way.
Absolutely. No, but Will said to us once, he goes, you guys are Black Lives Matter before Black Lives Matter. So
that's true. That's
right.
True.
And, again, it's not to keep hounding on it, but I had, I don't know how many times you had to tell people until Black Lives Matter, then all lives will matter. Very simple.
Yes.
Very simple.
Exactly. Very simple.
1 + 1 = 2. Everybody, why are you making it all so difficult? When Black Lives Matter, all lives will matter, and then we're good. We're good. It's like, but
we're good.
People don't see it that way, but we keep fighting. And I will say this to end that. I do believe though that this new generation,
is
a different mindset, and because of more people are aware of the history and are starting to realize that things need to end and things need to stop and people need to apologize for their past.
Well, we have, I mean, there's sort of, in Canada, there's been a lot of news of them finding unmarked graves of young Native kids, Indigenous kids at these residential schools that back in the day, I mean, they've existed even in the States too. But, you know, taking Native kids away from their families, and in essence, the whole purpose of them was to take the Native out of them and whiteify them. Do you know what I mean? Colonialize them, cut their hair, lose their traditional languages, lose their traditional cultures. And out of that, the government, the Canadian government and the church, these kids were killed, they were raped, they were beaten. I mean, so all of these unmarked graves. But the new generation, our uncle Frank, who's been married many times, but his young, I don't want to say younger, his wife now, his family now, because he's got a family of kids our age and then a family with younger kids. But his younger family, his son Jordan
is 16,
did like a 14-minute like soliloquy on Instagram about the Canadian government and what they did in the church. And I'm like, thank God, like this kid isn't going into the 10th grade and he's or the 11th grade now. And it's like, instead of just him doing silly TikTok videos, he's doing that. It
is so true. I mean, you know, I've been quite amazed at the return, because something you all have even pointed to about your own commitment to putting out this legacy album, which was to go back to the energy, the origin, the essence of hip hop, and being able to speak to, as you said, whether it was the Underground Railroad or things happening in the street. And now we're having to talk about, as artists who are empowered, to talk about things in our society. And to see this younger generation, I'm with you all. They're not playing with none of us. You know, as they call them, the Zoomers. You know, they are definitely to be guided. I think that, you know, and I'm a Gen X, as they said, Gen Xer, that's 65 to 70 something. And what we have come to understand is that our stories are important. And I think you all mentioned that earlier, is like, no matter what your age is, you still have something to say. There's something we still need to add to the global conversation, because what we're really talking about is humanity, is civility. It is about coming to elevating and transcending in our love for ourselves, our divinity, and to the divinity within another person. And if we can get that balanced, not so much right, but balanced, it's going to push humanity forward in its own evolution.
Absolutely. And I think, so to go back to the Black experience, I think it's also important in the school system, but also just in general, that, you know, young Black children need to hear their only story is not that they're descendants of slaves. They're descendants of African kings and queens who had very meticulous, you know, kingdoms and queendoms. The ancient, I mean, the Egyptians, when you watch movies, they make the Egyptians look like Lucas and Ice Cup. Like guys that look like us are playing ancient Egyptians. Fact is, the ancient Egyptians were African. You know, the Mali Empire was a very successful empire in Western Africa, the country of Mali, for like a good, 500-600 plus years. And so these aspects of you know, the roots of African heritage, like you mentioned, the griots and stuff, you know, this is not taught. So then kids only think that their only experience is, but their roots are deep rooted in Africa, kingdoms, queens, like the rich history. You know, we're very proud of our Roman roots and the Roman Empire, but kids need to know.
I'm glad you said that too.
Africa, you know?
Adrian, I'm glad you brought that point out, because I'm going to, just as a personal reveal, my brother is, you know, African American. Okay, well, we have some Cherokee and Choctaw in us too. But my brother, he has Italian roots as well on his father's side. And part of the experience when I'm not going to so much say a melting pot, because I'm more of a potpourri kind of person. I like to keep the ingredients so you can smell the lavender along with the lemon. You know what I'm saying? It all mixes well when, you know, but I love the fact that in our conversations, and he's a history buff, he's one of the main ones, he's a little younger than me, but he has always, as yourselves, been students of the music, students of history, and having respect for all of our origins, because it really is getting back to where is our divinity, where is our humanity, and how can we respect how God decided to express him, her, and itself. And as we celebrate that, we get a chance to have great music like y'all doing. Come on now. We get a chance to have that whole Yonkers to Italy. No, is it Bari? Because I want to make sure I say it right.
Bari, Italy, yeah.
Well, Christy, I was going to say you were incorrect before about your Gen X, because I could swear you were straight out of college. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love you forever, Kinfolk. Y'all better make me feel good today. But I'm a proud Gen Xer. And going back to, like you said, your younger generational, Kinfolk who are definitely taking over TikTok. I have fallen in love with TikTok. Now, I'm kind of like low key on TikTok. I pretty much, watch it as a guilty pleasure. But there's
I think we all do.
Yeah, there's actually a hashtag Gen Xers. Check it out. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. We have found and discovered TikTok, and we are clowning on that app. But this has been amazing. Okay, last thought, last song, as I said, one round. Okay. Now you're gonna see I don't drink a lot. Is it one more round?
One more round. Yeah.
Okay, we got one more round. So what do y'all want us to know? And how can we stay in the loop with all the amazing things y'all didn't really give me y'all resume, but that's okay. They can look it up on the internet. They can go to your website.
Yeah, no, go to gladiatorent.com and you can see everything that we've done. Our social media is Instagram is our kind of our one that we use mostly as 80 Empire. Twitter is 80 Empire _ 80 Empire on Facebook. We got some great new stuff coming out. We have Life After Life, the album, coming August 4th.
Yep. Shout out to the young
RX. Our RX. And then we have our next album coming out called Anthems and Icons, coming out as a sophomore to Legacy Part 2. And man, that one, if we thought Legacy,
excited about the records we already have for that.
Yeah, I'll give you a little taste of who's on the project. We got some more West Coast giants: MC8, Dub C, Corrupt.
From the Dog Pound.
We got Graf from New York, Ali Vegas,
DMC from Run DMC,
from the legendary DMC. We might even have a little Clyde Walter Orange of the Commodores on there. We also work with Clyde from the Commodores, so he's a personal friend of ours, and that's for another time. Those stories of the Commodores are incredible, but that's for when we meet in person and we sit around some good food and good.
Listen, I want to come to Memphis. I love barbecue, so I want to come to Memphis to experience the culture. Once we feel a little bit more, right now for travel, I'm kind of in one of those predicaments where I was 2 days shy of getting my vaccine, and then I got hit hard with a high fever, and then the whole story what I talked about. So I can't wait until I know when I can really get the vaccine and travel and. So we can go out and travel to places again, because I've been cooped up in my house like a lion in a cage.
Something, healing to us all and travel the world. That is all of our ambition in the next 24 months, 24 months, ready to get out there. And please come to Memphis. And I am in a family of musicians and music producers, both by blood and by music. So when I tell you, if you all ever come to Memphis, I'm going to show y'all the royal treatment. Y'all going to get the royal treatment. I'm telling you right now.
Thank you. And listen,
vice versa. We're surrounded by vineyards up here, and it's a beautiful area.
But with us, is what you see is what you get. We don't take ourselves.
What you see is what you get. Where's my tambourine?
Right.
What? I listened to that in the hospital. And I walked around like, like it just, that, what else got me through the day? I started a playlist in the hospital called OG Soul.
Backstabber?
Yeah, no, not Backstabber. I love Curtis Mayfield, but I love Freddie's dead. Bum, bum, bum. Freddie's dead. What else? I've got stylistics, the Shy Lights. I was listening to Cruising. But what else?
Stylistics are people make the world, go around.
But even like people say I'm the life of the party because I do good to take a good Smokey. So I was
actually, now that your voice is you got a bit of that Smokey. Do that again.
Yeah. So take a good look at myself. The back of my tear. You know, I can't do the falsetto yet. Like, I would go, whoa, whoa. See, I can't hit it. So that's one thing that COVID's done before. Like, it's easy for me.
It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. Plus, you're gonna have but you're gonna have that extra resonance now. It's gonna have
extra resonance. Shot of whiskey will clear that up, don't it?
Yeah. Oh my God. You know, music nerds like us, we can talk all day. And I'm super excited that you all decided to share your amazingness with the Christie Taylor Show. I'm extremely honored. Come back anytime.
We'd love to. We would love to. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, truly.
Thank you so much. And to everybody watching today, thank you for watching the Christie Taylor Show. You can always watch the replays on YouTube and listen to the show on your favorite podcast. All right, let's give it up for 80 Empire.
Oh, we got to get you in the studio.
Yes, you do. On that note, hold on. We're going to chit chat after the show.